Derek, I want to talk about the top animes of 2024. And to clarify for everyone, these are shows that we have watched this year. They don't have to be shows that have come out this year. There are, of course, shows that have come out this year that we've watched, but these are the shows that we watched and that we really, really enjoy. We can just kind of go back and forth, Derek, if you want.
That's fine.
So, what is one show for you, Derek, that you really enjoyed?
Oh, let's just go off the top, right? Off the top rim. Solo Leveling, man, like that thing, seeing the trailer for the season 2, which is spoiler, like we're gonna, spoiling the upcoming winter anime season. It's gonna be here in just over a week, man. Like it's
Yeah.
great, crazy that it's already this close to it. So seeing that, still hearing like on TikTok, like the memes, like that music from episode, I believe 6 it was, when he just like goes like berserk on that group. It's starting to resonate again. It's just giving me those feels and those memories again, to where that show, like, even though it came out almost about a year ago now,
January 7th.
yeah, January. So I mean, it's pretty much a year ago. Let's be fair. But beginning of 2024 was like still, I think, still tops. And I know we titled the episode "Is Down to Dawn the best anime of the year?" Question mark. I would say no. Like, I would say Solo Leveling is the best one I've watched all year. Like, obviously there's some other good ones, but just like you said, the pacing, like the growth of a character, like the character development, and just seeing like him become like just a force to be reckoned with, still resonates with me. Even now, like again, I am so pumped to see, because the upcoming arc they're going to cover the Jeju Island. Like, they talked about it in season 1 about how it was like it was pretty much like a massacre, like something that, like a big failure on the defense forces side. And I can't wait for them to revisit this and see what's going to transpire, especially now with a pumped up Genu, and just see how his story continues to go. So I'm looking forward to season 2, but season 1 was a great start to a show.
Season 1 was amazing. I remember watching it and just devouring it.
Correct.
There's really 2 shows on this list that I couldn't just put it down. That would be Kaiju number 8 and Solo Leveling.
Yeah.
Both of those just, I was mad when they because they were simulcasting Kaiju, and then it was like, oh, we got to put it off a couple weeks. I'm like, so I watched the last of it in Japanese just because I was like, I gotta know. I cannot wait.
Like Demon Slayer, like I need answers. I don't need to
wait. Exactly. It's like I can't wait around. But Solo Leveling, like it was. Yes, there are tropes and everything, but I thought the gamification, because I started with, I was reincarnated as a slime, and like there was some game stuff in there, but Solo Leveling scratched that itch so well. And like I literally checked out like the first 5 mangas to read, so I've got those on the shelf from the library and everything, so I can be ready for it and all of that. But love Solo Leveling. One of my favorites that came out this year, came out in January as well, is Delicious in Dungeon. That show was phenomenal. The art style, the character development, the music, the humor, and I like, that's one thing that you'll see in this list kind of over and over, is there is some sort of humor that is in each one of these shows. I like a serious thing, but humor really makes me enjoy an anime more. And this was one show that Amy and I watched as well. Amy's Delicious in Dungeons, whoop, whoop. Because I started watching it, I was like, Amy, I think you would really like this. And I played her the first episode, and she was like, oh, that's really funny. And then we kept watching, and
I can make bread with it.
Bread. And I think, Derek, you still need to watch this, because I know you haven't yet. But guys, this is such a good show. It's got a very interesting world, the characters you really connect with, and there's so much that I want to go into, but like, I cannot wait for season 2. I don't know when it's coming out, but I think that Delicious in Dungeon is a fantastic show. Derek, what's your next one?
You kind of alluded to it, but actually, you know what? Let me throw this in here because I watched it earlier this year. Vinland Saga, man, like that
Mm,
show was great. Like like obviously season 2 came out last year, was the
yep.
big hit of last year, but like just watching it this year, like seeing season going the dynamic from season 1 to season 2 was great. Like season 1, very like we talked about it, very Game of Thrones esque, especially the
Yep.
way it ended. And then seeing Thorfinn's development and just how he does like a complete 180 in season 2. Like, yes, I know like there was like the controversy of like how it is, but that's how the story arc goes. And I feel like it's going to tell, it's a different take on like warriors and fights and war on it. And I think it's going to do something very different. Like, obviously, it's only 4 arcs
Yes.
in the manga. We're halfway through. Like, season 3 will probably come in another like 5 years, I feel like. But regardless, like season 2 doing like because you know I told you my thoughts on season 2. Like I told you like how the people are idiots for not liking it
Yeah.
because it doesn't have enough blood and enough action. It's like, all right, mouth breathers, go somewhere. um but like just the way like Thorfinn's mindset changes over the course of the show is fantastic.
Hmm.
So, and like I am stoked for when, like, it's obviously going to be worth the wait whenever season 3 decides to grace us. I will watch it. But yeah, Vinland Saga, I finally corrected that sin because I haven't watched it. You know, I think the first season came out in 2019. So corrected that sin, finally watched it, and I'm glad I finally watched it. It was definitely worth the wait.
Yeah. I remember watching it and talking to you about it, and I was like, this is the best thing since sliced bread.
Yeah,
Like the first season is action. Like it is
yeah.
so good, and the twists and turns, the games of politics and war and how
Hmm.
they meld together, and the end of season 1 is so heartbreaking
Yes.
in its own way. And then season 2, like when I started watching Vinland Saga, like Netflix like started me on like season 2. I was like, I
Oh
don't
yeah.
understand what's going on here. So then I went back and watched season 1. But going into season 2, I was like, it was jarring, like
Hmm.
not knowing what was going on.
Correct.
And then it's like, okay, this is totally different. And it was super slow.
Hmm.
But the long form storytelling that we keep talking about is so good in this season. Like it takes time. And once you get there, dude, it is absolutely fantastic.
Hmm.
Like once you, and like, yes, there's action, but like Thorfinn's growth, and like he is so much like Thor's by the end of the
Oh, for sure.
season. Dude, it's so good. And it's like, I cannot give season 2 enough praise, but I do think if you enjoyed season 1, know that season 2 is a huge shift. Is
Yes.
a huge shift, and I think if you know that and you're patient, you're going to definitely be rewarded with an
Hmm.
amazing show. But I think that's the thing going into it. It's like you need to know that is going to be a big shift in kind of style and storytelling because
Hmm.
most of first season is through war and a lot of action.
Yes.
But season 2 was amazing for me. Another show that kind of crept out of nowhere, like I was just trying to, I finished Solo Leveling. I was kind of looking for another game inspired kind of show and everything, and that's
Hmm.
Overlord. I watched
Yes.
all of Overlord that's out right now, and that show is so hilarious. Just the the like just he's like stuck in this world, but he has to, be this like overlord, and like I'm Zulgon, and he
I
knows
am Ein
everything.
Zulgone.
Like the dude that does the voice for him,
Yeah. Chris
peak.
Guerrero, like you want to talk about like I talked about it in episode 3 how certain characters are just made to play certain like or certain voice actors are just made to voice certain characters. Chris Guerrero was made to voice Ein Zulgone.
Yeah, and I loved every minute of Overlord. Like I literally just binged like the three
Yeah.
or four. It's
4
three
seasons.
seasons.
4
Okay, four
seasons.
seasons. I binged all of it. I can't wait for the next bit that we get.
Yeah.
But
Which is
it
supposed to be
was
like, I know they did 2 movies, but it's pretty much just a recap of the events, but
yeah.
supposedly this next movie that's gonna come out, I think it's either next year or 2026, will be like a new movie. It'll tell like new stuff.
I'm excited for that because the show was just so good. The cast of characters and everything, and
Correct.
just the comedy of like him being put in these situations where like his captains are like thinking of these plans and it's like, well, of course you knew that, master. And it's like it's like
Like,
yes, of
yes,
course.
good. Yes, I was just testing you.
Like those moments are just hilarious.
And then like this mysterious force, like when he gets like really amped up, really anxious, and then this is like this calming effect, where he's like, yes, we will do this.
Yeah, and the fights are just really interesting because like the only time he's actually challenged is when he fights what is her name, the vampire.
Oh my gosh.
Shin, something like that.
Shoutier.
Shoutier. That's like the only time he's actually challenged through the whole series. The rest of the
Yeah.
time he's just like, you know.
Yeah.
So
he has like so many like abilities. I'm like, man, this is broke.
yeah, but I love it, and not all the time that I like, because I feel like Slime. You know, I know you like Slime, but I felt like there wasn't enough there.
Yeah.
You know, the ramp wasn't there the whole time. You
I
know,
agree.
and that's why I really like Overlord. So that's one of my top animes, and I don't think any of the seasons came out this year, but yeah, that's
No,
one of
like
my
season 4 came out either last year or 2022, but yeah, it's none of them came out. Like the series started in like 2016, 2017.
Yeah, 2022 is when season 4 came out. So
Yeah.
they need to hurry it up. Derek, what's another one for you?
Another one that you alluded to earlier was Kaiju number 8, man. Like that thing gave me like, obviously, yes, it feels like My Hero in certain aspects, like with the main character. But I feel like, and I know you haven't watched it, but it's also like mixed in with the main character of Blue Exorcist as well, because it's like he's gotten this power to turn into a kaiju and he's got to keep it hidden, and then like typical anime, especially shonen anime, it gets revealed to the world that he is actually this, and now you have to deal with the ramifications of how do we go about this. Are you still our friend? Are you still with us in our fight? And just see those last like see that because we got more of a longer build, but like it was like it like Dandadan, it didn't overstay its welcome on certain things. It just like kept the pace. And like Kaiju number 9, like what's his deal? Because that thing is freaky. Like I feel like not knowing and not seeing anything in the manga, that's going to be the Mahito of this show, where I'm just going to hate him by the end of it, because he has that like carefree, like of course he's learning things, but he's like got that carefree attitude of like, oh yeah, I'm just going to use people. People are my puppets. Like I don't care. Like it's gonna, as long as it benefits me, I don't care.
Yeah.
But that like fight with the commander at the end, with like toward the end, was just epic, and it shows like, all right, like how like these people aren't going to just roll over and die.
Yeah, and like the amount of gear that they've been able to develop from the different kaiju, and that the commander is like able to use this like extreme version of it and everything, because you see like the lieutenant and like when earlier on,
man.
yeah, like and just the different amount of kaiju that you see from the whole season is just so cool. And the animation is great, the transformations are there, but again, it goes back to the comedy. I think the comedy is one of the best parts of Kaiju number 8, and him having his friend that he meets on the cleanup force, and like trying to keep his secret and all of this. And it kind of reminds me of One Punch Man, where he's got the dude that he's training that's like higher level and everything, but he's way more stronger than he is and all of that. So
that's funny. Genos, I guess you could say, or I don't know.
Yeah. Genos is One Punch Man, I want to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like the blonde haired dude in this show is that for I don't know names.
Yeah.
Kaiju number 8, essentially. So I just love the animation, the music, the stakes. I like that they don't just like they do ramp, but there's times where like the stakes are very subtle, like they're very
Right.
personal for people, and I think that moves the plot along because it's not just the main character. You have different characters that have motivations as well
Yes.
within there. So I really like that about this show.
Kafka Hibino is the main character's name.
Kafka. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And then it was like they like, oh, you're an old man. He's like 30 something. And I'm like, he's not old, dang.
I know. It's like be careful. It's like be careful, man. Like I'm like us being in our 30s too. Like we take offense to that, of course.
Yeah, it's like Japanese. Y'all need to know when old is old and 30 is not old.
Right. Like just because y'all might have a lower retirement age doesn't mean it's old. Like come on now. But yeah, just seeing like the division commander, like his childhood friend, like that dynamic, and like her being like cold and like not like really acknowledging him, but then when they have that moment like after it's revealed that he's the kaiju, like she's like almost relieved because it's like hearing him say like the promise that he gave to them as children is a relief to her. It's like, all right, he's still the same person. He's not going to change, like despite even having these powers. But then her father gets involved and is like, or no, it's the other girl's father.
Yep.
But like, and even
blonde
her dynamic,
girl.
the blonde hair girl, like even her dynamic is ridiculous because she comes off as like snob, like I'm better than you at anything, and then you see her vulnerable side, and you're just like, you're like any other snooty girl or like snooty person in a show, like you're just covering it up to cover being a hard shell crab, toughening up. But and then even like you said, the vice captain, like with the swords, like that dude. If that he's a borderline cheat code with his abilities. Now, obviously, it has limits, but like him just like going to town, I'm just like, oh, now I see why everyone else uses guns and you don't.
Yeah, he gives me like Sasuke. Gosh, what is the dude's name from Yu Yu Hakusho? I'm literally wearing the
Kuwabara.
show. No, not Kuwabara.
Hiei.
Hiei, yeah, Hiei. Like he gives me that kind of vibe where it's like they're definitely like more cool. Like he'll play kind of like silly. But like his fighting style is like in your face kind of deal that I feel more aligns with them. For me, I think one of the biggest ones was, we've already talked about Dan to Dan. I do think it's one of the top animes of the year. But one that I wish I would have watched long ago, but I'm glad that I finally took the time and was such a huge thing for me this year was Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Yeah.
Man, this show is phenomenal. And if you've never watched it, or if you have watched it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But this show is literally why we have great storytelling in anime these days. We both love fighting animes. We love Dragon Ball Z and all of that, but that's not necessarily known for its complex storytelling.
Correct.
Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is so great. The music, the character, the art, like, yes, it is older school, but the art I feel like is so good. It is so interesting. The world is there. The political structure within the whole show is very interesting as well, because you think that one thing is going on, but then this other thing is happening.
And it's like, oh, they're trying to do this, and it's like, nope, this is actually our original plan.
Yeah, and like things start to unravel. You have questions the whole time, and you're like, well, is their dad the evil guy? Because the evil guy looks exactly like him. And you're wondering this the whole time, and then like pieces start happening, and like Mustang, and you just got so many great characters within this. And once you get to the end, you're just like, wow, I will say this. I will die on this hill, Derek.
Mm-hmm.
Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood was better than the whole Marvel run up to Endgame.
I'm not going to disagree with you. But it's also comparing apples to oranges in certain aspects. But
are you sure about that? Because the storytelling, like I'm just saying, the storytelling is solid all the way through. I feel like up to Endgame there were some hit or misses, and Endgame like went to a little bit too long. Like Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, I feel like it's like 64 episodes or something like that. Like it's not super long.
Yeah, right.
And you get to the end and you're just like, man, and you see what happens to him afterwards, and you're just like, wow, I just experienced something that is a masterpiece.
True cinema.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I say I'll die on that hill. I'll fight anybody. I'll put on the boxing gloves. Like this show is better than Marvel phase whatever, 1 through all the way.
I can't wait for you to sit down and take a moment to watch Attack on Titan then, because I feel like if you enjoyed the storytelling of that, I feel like you'll do the same with Attack on Titan. So,
well, that is on my list, Derek.
Yeah,
that is on my list.
I gave you an extensive list once you started this journey, so it's not like you're short on content.
True. So one of these days I will get to that. Derek, are there any other top animes for 2024 that you want to hit?
My last one I'll give is I kind of alluded to in episode 3 of the show, but I kind of combined 2 of them together, but I want to give it more of the roses this time around. And that's because the current season's airing now, going into the second core starting next month. But oh my, Blue Exorcist. I almost said Blue Note Saga. I'm like, that's a different thing. Blue Exorcist. It started out in 2012, and it diverged. It diverged and went anime for like anime only stuff, and got away from the manga second half of the show. Came back season 2 5 years later, and it was good. Like but went back to the manga, really good. Then season 3 drops January. And it blew it like there would, like he's talking about twists and turns. So there were some character twists and turns from the previous 2 seasons that I did not see coming, especially with one character in particular that had been more of like a background character, and that they brought to light. And I was just like, wow, this is actually intriguing. Like they're actually getting to like the deep meat of the storytelling of like the overall show. Like this is actually becoming a really intriguing show. Like I'm glad I stuck with it. Like it's one of those, like, you want to talk about, it's borderline not a hidden gem, but also is, because I feel like not a lot of people talk about it. But also it's if they're on a season 4 at this point, some people are watching it, and like it's getting its just desserts. But I feel like not enough people are talking about it as being like, okay, now it's actually becoming intriguing. And the second core is like the title of it, that they're going to start next month, is something like that they've talked about since season 1, being it's like an event that happened like before the main character was born, or like the night he was born. That I feel like we're going to delve more into why this happened to flesh out that storytelling. So I was really intrigued with season 3 of Blue Exorcist. I can't wait to when all of season 4 is out, and I can just binge watch that thing.
One of these days I'll get around to it, because it does sound really interesting. I think I will enjoy it as well.